This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. Hey, what's up and welcome to Hot Takes, the show where I take your hot takes and react to them. A ton of hot takes to get into from the comment section this week. Let's just jump into it. The Browns are getting healthy. This is a video I did with Cam Justice. This comment says, I'm really interested to see what becomes of Nyheim Hines this season. Could be awesome, could be a nothing burger. Yeah, I wonder if we can give Andrew Berry truth serum. How far astray from the plan are they with Nyheim Hines? Because I have to imagine they are miles off the path with where Nyheim Hines was supposed to be versus where they expected him to be at. Because I just don't think they imagined he was going to miss all of training camp, play in none of the preseason games, because I feel like Nyheim Hines was somebody they felt like they needed to evaluate to make sure they wanted the roster. And now we're talking about him starting the season on PUP. He's not going to play for the first month. How did it go from that? He suffered that ACL injury in training camp of last year. And then when you have a recovery, it's taking this long. And it's one thing when it's Nick Chubb and it looks like Nick Chubb could beat him back onto the field. But it's one thing when it's Nick Chubb and it was a devastating knee injury. And he's Nick Chubb at the end of the day. He's always going to have that strength to rely on. It's another thing when it's Nyheim Hines and he's supposed to be relying on his ability to cut left and right and his athleticism. And then this surgery and injury rehab is taking so much longer than you expect. You're not going to have time to evaluate whether he came back from that injury at a level that you can accept. I just wonder how long they're going to roll with this. It seems like they're going to roll with this for a little bit, but man, I would love to be a fly on the wall in that room when they have that conversation about Nyheim Hines, because there's no way this is even close to what they predicted was going to be the plan with him. But yeah, it's just an interesting one. My Brian Windhurst thumbnail. And by the way, I've been having the time of my life making these new thumbnails, man. I like them. I like the new thumbnails. They're fun. They seem to do a good job of drawing in viewers. Viewership's been up. New viewers have been up with these new thumbnails. They're a little bit more simple, less wordy. And kind of like, I look at these thumbnails. I'm like, yeah, I click that. Come on, man. You telling me right now you would have clicked that? I clicked that. Anyway, Browns cut the roster to 53. Cleveland Frank Thomas says this. I think it might be nice to do a video explaining defensive and offensive schemes like you did in the video with the defense. I know I can't be the only one who doesn't fully understand them. I understand there's other videos and materials out there explaining it, but I personally rather go to you first. It's difficult to do that, or to do a bunch of videos explaining that, because some people come here for the in-depth stuff. Some people come here for conversation about the Browns, and I do have to balance that. Another reason it's difficult is if I'm going to start talking about defense and offensive schemes, you're talking about like figuring out where to start at. So what I think I will do, and what I will attempt to do, is during the course of the season, when certain things come up that are important and need to be explained or need to be put out there for the context of the situation to be understood, then I can do a better job of defining what I mean. Because sometimes I just get kind of wrapped up into it and I know it, so I just start talking in shorthand with it. So I could do a better job of just kind of slowing it down and saying, hey, if you don't know, this is what this is. This is why this is important. This is why they're never going to keep, this guy here. I can do some of that. So yeah, it's definitely something I can add to my repertoire. I don't know if I'll be dropping like a cover 3 explained video anytime soon, but if the Browns have issues in cover 3 during the season, well, then we're just going to have to explain it during the film breakdown. So make sure you're checking out the film breakdowns. Appreciate you, Frank. Rock here says, this is the thought. if Cleveland and I hold on to the four, if I was Cleveland, my bad, I would hold on to the 4 quarterbacks, trade them for draft picks or people that you need at certain positions. I would trade Elijah Moore for draft picks. You can set yourself up for drafting a quarterback next year to make a good package to move up and get a quarterback that you want. I don't think you're going to be able to move anybody at the bottom of your roster that's going to be able to make any significant difference in getting a quarterback in a way that you already don't have. So no, I don't think like the Browns have like 3 6th-round picks already. They don't need another one to be able to get up and get a quarterback. They already have 5th-round picks. So I don't think it would be useful for getting another quarterback. It's just if you feel like a player cannot contribute on your 53-man roster in any significant way and a team wants him, then yeah, you would trade him for a pick. But outside of that, if you feel like Elijah Moore can contribute, if you feel like one of the quarterbacks not named Jameis Winston or Deshaun Watson can contribute to this team some way, somehow, then you're going to want to keep him rostered. But that's going to be the main question that's going to be asked. And the Browns aren't really going to be interested in like, oh, well, maybe we might want a quarterback in the draft, so let's get an extra 5th. I don't think they're thinking like that. And they don't really have to because they do have the extra 5th and 6th and 7th-round picks if they want to throw in there. And, you know, do you really want the Browns to throw more resources at the quarterback position right now? Like, I don't know. If it were me, I don't mind looking at the quarterback position going forward. Even if Watson plays great, I don't mind looking at the quarterback position going forward. It's just, I'm also gonna be in a situation where if it happens, it happens. Like if a guy I really like falls to me, I'll take him. But I'm not gonna trade up unless like the trade up package is like super sweet, you know? Like I don't see any need for the Browns to be thirsty. And I think what you're suggesting there is that the Browns might be thirsty to get a quarterback next year. I don't think that's the situation. They're going to have to play Deshaun until 2027. So there's really no rush. Diamond says this. Based on how DTR played in the preseason and the improvements he seems to have made, I would prefer him as a backup. Would you prefer him as a backup? Or at least QB3? Personally could do without Jameis. Yeah, okay. Hold on. Now, I get it. We all get excited by the preseason. We all get jumped up, hyped up, turned up. You know, we see DTR out there balling against the 2nd string, sometimes the 3rd string, and our imagination runs wild. But I would like to remind everybody that the Browns did this last year. They put DTR as the backup. It was super early. It looked good in the preseason, though. It looked good in the preseason. They put him as a backup. Then DTR played. And then it didn't look good. And then we was all mad. And everybody was tweeting about Josh Dobbs. Y'all remember that? Y'all remember the Josh Dobbs stuff? Now, look, if there's one area I've learned that you just got to take the Browns' word at it and it's going to work out, is backup quarterback. Because look at the track record of backup quarterbacks that Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski have brought up in here and had success with. Like, it's an undeniable track record. They know what they're doing with that backup quarterback. But it's why I'm not even that critical of them keeping 4 quarterbacks on the first 53-man cut down, because if they up to something, it's gonna be something good more than likely. Because every year, dog, we go into the regular season and we questioning what the Browns doing at backup quarterback. And every year we end the season loving the dude who played backup quarterback. Y'all did this with Case Keenum. Y'all did this with Nicholas Mullins. Y'all did this with Jacoby Brissett. Y'all did this with Josh Dobbs, Joe Flacco. You see what I mean? The Browns in that backup position, they know what they do. Even the ones that y'all don't like PJ Walker. PJ Walker were like 2-1. They know what they're doing with backup. So if they decide that DTR is the backup, I will accept that. I don't think it's right, but if they think it's right, okay, and I trust them to make it right throughout the course of the year, because even if they mess up and do what they did last year and make DTR the backup, they can fix it. they can ultimately fix it. I know that answer went all over the place, but the main point of what I'm trying to say is they probably not going to do that. There's a reason they paid Jameis $8 million to be the backup quarterback. But if that were something that they wanted to do, then they should do it. But I don't think it's something they want to do. I don't think they've gotten this carried away from the preseason. And I think they learned their lesson from being early on DTR. It ain't no reason to be early. You got Jameis here right now. Like next year, DTR wants to be the backup. That's what we got to have him being. But this year, what's the harm in having Jameis Winston back up Deshaun Watson instead of DTR? Like, somebody answer me that question for those of y'all who really want DTR to be the backup. What's the harm of having Jameis Winston being the backup if you're going to roster DTR regardless? I don't see it. You know, even worst case scenario, Jameis Winston is actually worse than DTR, but then you just put DTR out there. I don't see the harm. Like, I don't get why it would make sense to make DTR the backup. Just doesn't make sense. This ain't like Josh Dobbs, where I'm like, Josh Dobbs is not necessarily guaranteed to be better than DTR, and he doesn't have that much more experience playing. This is a situation where like Jameis Winston started for like 5 years for a football team and had a pretty good record the last time he started. This is the comments from a video with me and G Bush. Shout out to G. Always fun to have him on. The Yellow Tuxedo says, me and my pops call each other to talk about your videos. Thanks for the bonding. You know, this comment really like one of the coolest comments I've ever gotten on a YouTube video for so many different reasons. But it's just nice to know that, you know, I could be a positive part of somebody's life, even passively. Like, right, we don't know each other, but we watch these videos and sometimes interact through the comment section. And that is just one of the coolest comments I ever got. It kind of brings me back to how I got into sports talk. Well, not sports talk, but just talking sports. It's just me and my dad would have all these arguments about different radio shows that we listen to or different games that we watch together and what our takes are on those. And, you know, it kind of brings me back to that, which is really the core of what I do on this channel. So that's awesome, man. That's one of the best comments I've ever gotten on this channel. Appreciate that so much. Next one comes from Travis, says David Bell is fine as our sixth wide receiver. This is the best wide receiving core we've had in years. It's definitely the deepest. Like, I feel fine with everybody out there. Now, I do worry that it's not that top heavy, right? If you lose Amari Cooper, you have a lot of guys who can fill those other spots well, but you don't have anybody who can fill that one spot well. Maybe you just replace it with more David Njoku, which is probably what you would do, but still not in love with the lack of top heaviness. And I think if it's true, the report that Brandon Ayuk, the trade for Brandon Ayuk, never included Amari Cooper, that makes sense to me, because it would make sense that the Browns would make a move to make sure they're a little bit more top heavy, because that is the one issue with this wide receiver room. It is really Amari Cooper and then a lot of like really solid number 2, number 3 options there. But yeah, that's my main concern with this wide receiver room. But I do agree. It's pretty deep. It's a pretty deep room. And I'm pretty comfortable with it. Jake Schaefer says, Jake Schaefer, my bad. My apologies. Hey, Q, do you think the Browns are possibly picking up Frank Gore Jr. on the waiver wire? Now, by the time I've recorded this video, it is very possible that Frank Gore Jr. has been picked up on a waiver wire or picked up on a practice squad or something like that. I don't think the Browns were really going to get at him as a waiver wire guy. I think maybe as a practice squad guy. But yeah, I think Frank Gore Jr. is going to be a practice squad candidate. I love the story. I love what he's been able to do in the preseason. The issue with him is just like the undersized and he's not really the greatest athlete. You worry about some of this stuff with him. But I hope he sticks and I hope he has a good career, because it'd be a great story though. Next Comment comes from Damien, who says, "You made a key point about last season. When we had all the adversity, we lost last season. When we had all the adversity, my bad, that we had last season, the old Browns would have choked up and lost every game. This ain't the same old Browns. We were able to get through all the adversity we had last year." Yeah, I agree. I think it is such a delicate balance where fan psyche can be and how connected fan psyche is to team psyche. I had a conversation with somebody on Twitter where, they were like assuming that the vibes in the locker room were just as bad as the vibes on whatever their Twitter feed looked like from Browns fans and Browns players. But that locker room, it could exist in a completely different universe, man. Like, I think they're doing fine there. I think they feel confident about starting the season. I think they like that they're getting guys back. And then you have things like Nick Chubb coming back eventually towards the middle part of the year that they can get excited about. Like, I think that they feel very strongly about what they have on this roster. They're very confident. And they know that they can get through that adversity. And that stuff matters when you go down in a game and you still believe you can win. It does matter. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think there's been a change there in mentality. We'll see. Because they're going to deal with adversity this season, no matter how it goes, whether it's the best season in Browns history or a very disappointing season. They're going to have to deal with adversity. So we'll see how it goes. And this is my Browns film breakdown on the offensive line. Brian Bring says, "Great video cue. Love the looks from the offensive line. Just wondering why we never have issues with the guards. We can find reliable tackles. Why do the LA Rams have a free agent as their starting left tackle? Do you think it's the scouts or the old O-line coaches?" Again, love the vids. Nah, I just think tackle's just a harder position to find people to do because there's so many different ways you can protect a guard, and especially a center. Like, you can protect those guys very easily in the structure of an offensive line by making sure that they have certain responsibilities or certain slide checks that they have. But with tackle, you're kind of just out there a little bit more. It's more of a one-on-one position, right? Like, it's easier to hide a corner that can't run in zone, but you put that corner in man, issues going to pop up. And when you're a left tackle, you're doing some zone blocking, but you're really doing a lot of man blocking and pass sets. So it's just about your ability to hold up one-on-one. And it's a harder position because look at the athletes that you're going up against. Like, look at what we expect from a tackle athletically. And then look at Myles Garrett. It's just so much harder, right? Like, the gap between athleticism from defensive tackle to guard is not that large. It is large. There is a significant gap there by defensive tackles athletics-wise to what you would expect from a guard or especially a center. But it's not as sizable as the gap between left tackle or right tackle and premier edge rusher. Like, the gap is giant. The gap is giant. So it's just a really tough position to fill. And then the Browns play in the toughest football division on earth. And on top of being the toughest football division on earth, might be the toughest division to play left tackle in on earth. Now, you get a break because you got Myles Garrett on your team, but like, imagine if you're left tackle for Baltimore Ravens and you see Myles Garrett, you see Trey Hendrickson, you see Alex Highsmith, sometimes TJ Watt. It's a tough division, man. It's a tough division. Like, I don't think it's just the Browns that are struggling to find tackles. Look at Cincinnati, right? It's the whole division, and the reason feels obvious. It's just, look how good these edges are in this division. If you're Cincinnati, like, we've seen them struggle to find tackle solutions pretty much since 2020, since they got Zach Taylor. They've been struggling with left tackle solutions. They've signed Orlando Brown. They brought in this guy, that guy, this solution, that solution, Riley Reif here, La'el Collins there, and it just nothing worked out to the level that they wanted to, because the stress that you got to hold up in the AFC North, it's not normal stress, and it's going to make good tackles look average. It's going to make great tackles look okay because of the competition that you're playing 2 times a year. Baltimore, like Ronnie Stanley, hasn't looked like Ronnie Stanley in a little while, and he's having a tougher time recovering, and have to imagine it has to do with the strength of schedule he plays every year. Pittsburgh seems to have issues at tackle right now, and they continue to have issues at tackle. They've had issues at tackle for a little while now. It's not just the Browns. There's been a tackle shortage across the league. And also just look at what you're asking a tackle to hold up on with in this division. Even if your tackle's great, he ain't going to look great every game. Not in this division, So I think we just got to adjust our expectations for it being the AFC North. Like, I think sometimes we just look at Jed and think he playing in the AFC South or NFC South or something like that. And, he should be easy peasy miling through these guys. But nah, man, he's going up against some of the best pass rushers in the generation some weeks. Like, he goes up against that in practice, and then when he plays the Steelers, he has to see that 2 times a week. It's tough. It's tough. It is a really tough situation to be in. But that's my reaction to your hot takes in the comment section. Appreciate you guys for watching the videos. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.